stocking up does not have to be hard and complicated and scary and expensive and crazy. I want to simplify it for you guys. I've come up with 6 different categories that you should stock up on right now. So let's talk about it. One very important category that we make sure that we are fully stocked up on are whole grains and healthy grains. The things that we like to make, and I consider like the different meals that we like to make, that's kind of how I base my stocking up. It's based upon the different meals that we have. So right now I'm making spaghetti, and Jesse was just here helping me, but we're making a really good quality spaghetti that's pre-made. We get this one from Azure Standard, and Julianne knows how to make homemade pasta, and we do that from time to time as well, but it's a big process. It takes a while. So on busy days like today, when we have a lot to get accomplished, it's nice to be able to go get a healthy box of pasta from down in my dry storage in the basement and just pop it in the pan and throw together some homemade sauce. It makes for a really easy meal. And then also I think about like breakfast. We one thing we stock up on are organic rolled oats, and that turns into wonderful homemade granola, which is like my favorite cereal ever. And we also make homemade oatmeal, our caramel apple oatmeal, our baked oatmeal. All of these things are great, hearty, healthy breakfasts with organic oats that I love to make for my family. And just knowing that I have them in the house, even something as silly as whipping up some, oatmeal cookies. I've got that healthy, organic, whole grain oats down in my basement, ready to go. Also, keeping healthy, good quality rice on hand is super important. We use rice for all sorts of meals, whether we're making Mexican or Asian cuisine. We use rice a lot, and I like it by itself. The kids don't necessarily like it. But having these things on hand is so important when you're trying to feed your family, and you're going to pay less if you buy it in bulk and kind of plan ahead versus going to the store and just buying little bits every time and buying it at a higher price, which is what's happening right now. So it's nice to be able to have those things to prepare whatever meals you have. So what I would suggest is kind of make a list of your family's top 10, 15 meals that everybody likes. And then begin to build your stockpile list according to that. Like, if I know that my kids will eat pasta for an easy meal, I always have my pasta on hand. We have our beef from the farm, and I have our canned tomato sauce, which I haven't brought up here yet, that we can throw together with some seasonings and spices into a delicious dinner. Open up a can of applesauce. You get what I'm saying? So like, you just kind of need to create your game plan by what your family likes to eat. Don't stack up on stuff that nobody likes that'll end up going to waste. But I know that the things that I'm stocking up on, my family will eat, and it will provide good quality food for everyone.
Another area that we want to consider stocking up on is protein. We're going to be going out here to check on our lambs. We have our moms that are getting ready to deliver, and so we want to get out to the pasture here and make sure that we have enough feed, that any of the babies that are born are getting dried off and being cared for, and getting warmed up. And that's the one thing that's really nice about our Katahdin sheep is those babies, they get up and they get moving, and they're really hardy. So even in the winter months when we start delivering lambs out, the moms just do a great job caring for them and raising our next generation of protein. We have put up protein in all different forms and fashions here. A lot of those things are in the forms of eggs or chicken, but then the other one that we use big time here is our lambs. So we process our lambs out, we get them into the freezer, we get them canned up and pressure canned and shelf stable. So we use those in all different fashions and forms. We have our beef that we're raising this year that we're gonna be processing out as well. And so getting your protein put up is just a huge part of your stockpiling, because when you go through that, you have your carbs and your sugars and all those different things, but then what can you put with them that's gonna add more nutritionally dense value to them? You can put protein in with them, and then you can give them some extra flavor, some seasonings, and it just levels up your food. It doesn't make it the same old beans and rice. When you're putting food up for the year, you want to put up food that you enjoy. You want to put up food that's going to be nutrient dense, that's going to be good for you, that's just gonna be, it's gonna taste good. You're gonna wanna eat it. Because you can put up all the beans and rice you want to, but if you just have that for calories, you're not really, you're surviving, you're not living, right? So we like to have protein in a couple different fashions. We like to have it stored up in the freezer. We like to have it canned. But then I like to have what we call walking protein. We've talked about this before. The most stable protein that you can have is the protein that's not gonna rot or go bad if the fridge goes out or the freezer goes out, or in the event of your canning process going bad. So really you diversify yourself out by canning your meat, by freezing it, and then by having something that's walking, living, producing, and kind of bringing up the meat for the next generation. I know another question that's going to get asked is, what if I'm not a homesteader with land where I'm raising all my protein sources, where I'm raising chickens and eggs and lamb and beef and all those things? So this is where we like to say, get creative, get with your local homesteaders, get with your local farmers, get with your friends maybe that are interested in the same things you are, where they can help you out with those things. The next level is find good sales. Go to the grocery store, find big cuts of meat that are on sale that you have to process out yourself, and you can save a lot of money by going and buying an entire prime rib section that's on sale and breaking it down into roast and beef as far as cuts go, or using the trimmings, making tallow out of them. There's just so many things that we can get creative with that we don't want anyone to feel like they're stuck in a rut with I can't do this or I can't do that. Grow where you're planted, thrive where you are. If that means that you're in a season where you have to go to farmers markets or grocery stores and stock up on the things when it comes to protein, then go ahead and do it. Find those fresh eggs from the farmers markets or from a local supply and water glass them, store them, put them up. We have videos on how to do these things and giving you guys the tools and the ability to stock up no matter where you are. You don't have to be a homesteader necessarily. You might be aspiring to be a homesteader. You might just want to be stocking up and preparing your family. Chickens are a great starter to get into your protein. You get the eggs, you get the byproducts of all the processing when it comes to your bone broths and all that type of stuff. So there's just such diversity when you have good protein sources that you can grab and you can put into your main dishes and use them for everyday cooking and just good, healthy, nutritious meals.
I'm down in the root cellar and I want to talk to you guys about another important category to be stocking up on right now, and that is your fruits, your vegetables, your potatoes, your butternut squash, whatever you have. If you don't have them stocked up from a garden or have access to like a farmer's market or a CSA during the winter, make sure you head out to the store and find some good things that are on sale and then figure out how to store those things. So we have learned over time that some things we prefer to have frozen in our stockpile and some things we prefer to have down here in the root cellar. Of course, my first choice would be to have things that are shelf stable so that I'm not taking up freezer space, which is a hot commodity, and I'm sure all of you can relate with that. But we do a combination of store-bought items when it comes to fruit and veggies, as well as our own home canned items. We put away a lot of our own tomato sauces and applesauce and different sweet corn and carrots and cowboy candy and jam and jelly and all of those things. And we definitely have a good stockpile right now of our potatoes, plenty of butternut squash and all of that. Now you have to keep your eye on like your butternut squash and your potatoes, your zucchinis, pumpkins, those kinds of things down in your root cellar. When you're storing them, you want to keep your eyes on them so that you don't have them start rotting out. You got to pay attention to that and see if everything looks good, if your temperature is good and your moisture is good and all of that. But we also buy store-bought stuff. You've seen some of my Aldi grocery hauls, and I am happy to buy. I prefer organic canned items to keep on the shelf, but we don't have peaches on our trees yet that we can put away. We have apples on some of our trees, but not enough to stock stockpile. So I find those items on sale, I get them and we process them out. We've had free apples gifted to us from other people's organic trees, which is a huge blessing, or blueberries gifted to us from Michigan, and we like to process them out either in cans over here or freeze them. I have them ready for those cold winter days when fresh fruit is hard to find, and make sure we have our supplies ready to go. It would always be my preference to every meal, if I could, maybe not breakfast, but every meal for lunch and dinner to provide a fruit and a veggie to my family. That is my goal. When I'm thinking about stocking up and I'm thinking about meals, I'm trying to think, okay, what can I put on the table that's a fruit? What can I put on the table that is a vegetable? And of course, if it's fresh, that's preferred, but that's not always accessible. And they can be fun things too, like our Julianne's delicious, cranberry sauce. That when cranberries were on sale, we obviously don't grow our own cranberries, but when cranberries were on sale, we bought a ton of them and made up some of this delicious cranberry sauce that's ready to go on those cold winter days when you're roasting up one of your fresh chickens or whatever, and just throw it on the side, which is a huge blessing. So think about how you want to store stuff. My family, I've shared this before with all of you, but we just don't like canned green beans. I know, don't get mad. Maybe we're just not doing it right. No. So you will not find a canned green bean on my root cellar shelf anywhere. You will not find it because we don't like it. I've gotten over stocking up on stuff just for the heck of it. We stock up on stuff because we will eat it and we enjoy it, and we spend our time and energy doing that. So we take green beans and we freeze them. Our favorite way is to eat them fresh when they're in season, and I'm content with that. I mean, I'm content with not eating them all the time in the winter and just being content with what's in season. So anyway, stock up on your fruits and veggies, keep everybody healthy, keep everybody strong. We're not really big on stocking up on processed foods, ready-eat foods. I know sometimes that has to be what people stock up on, and that's okay. But I actually find for our family, it's cheaper and obviously healthier to just make food from scratch and kind of piece together what we've stocked up on. And fruit and veggies is definitely a big category of what we stock up on. All right, one of the other categories that is very important to make sure you have ready and in supply in your house, in your stockpile, are good, healthy fats. And I know that everyone has a different opinion on what a healthy fat is. I'll tell you what I consider to be a priority to keep in my house, but use your best judgment. What will your family use? What do you think is the best choice? And the options for us that I like to keep stocked up on are our grass-fed organic beef tallow. We also we rendered our own beef tallow this year, which was a really neat experience, and that's something that's very achievable. And I use this for our cast iron cooking. You can use this in baking recipes if you want, but I really just focus on using it when I'm cooking with my cast iron pans, especially because it really helps cut down on sticking. You know what? Also, Julianne uses this for homemade lotion as well. So it comes in handy for us not only for eating and consuming, but for, making homemade lotions and different things like that. Okay, so like when I'm cooking, I use the beef tallow first to kind of create a non-stick layer for myself. And then another fat that we like to stock up on is butter. So we no longer have our dairy cows on site here at the farm, maybe someday, but not right now. But I have wonderful access to a local dairy farm, which is a big blessing. And so we are able to get raw milk there when we need it. And that is an option to kind of consider as even like a fat, because out of that raw milk fats, you can make butter, you can make cheese, and all of that stuff. So I would consider raw milk, because we don't drink it on a daily basis. We don't, it's not like part of our diet all the time, but cheeses are, and the butter is great to have in your house. If you don't have access to raw butter, raw milk, all of those things, that's something that you might want to consider stocking up on from the store. When you find a good sale at Aldi, wherever you can find a good deal, stock up. You can absolutely freeze butter and put it away in your freezer and just have it ready when you need it. And with as much as we bake, we use a combination of homemade butter and store-bought butter, because that would be a lot of butter to make. Look at it, double yolk. So tallow, butter, and then we love our avocado oil. I always have this sitting here right by the stove. You can use this on fresh salads, as a dressing. You can use this for cooking. You can use this in your cast iron pans because it has a high smoke point. So avocado oil is definitely one of our go-tos. And then I would say last but not least would be organic olive oil. I really like to stock up from Azure Standard on their avocado oil and their olive oil. Really happy with both of those things. When I have gotten them from Azure Standard, been really happy with the quality. And yeah, so those are the oils we stock up on in our house. And the funny thing is we use them for food and we use them for bath and body. So our gold lotion has olive oil in it. Different things that Julianne makes, like lip balm, has some of these oils in it. So they're very important in our home, and I would highly recommend them being stocked up in your home as well. All right, the next category I want to talk about today is stocking up on all of your baking necessities. Now, we do a ton of baking in here. Let's go in and see what Julianne's up to.
Right now, I am working on shaping a sourdough whole wheat loaf, and then I'm also going to be experimenting with homemade bagels.
Okay, and on a daily basis, what would you say are the different breads that we make homemade from scratch?
Our artisan crusty bread. Recently, we've been doing a lot of our artisan sourdough bread, and those are probably like the main things that we use most of the time.
When we are talking about like being prepared to make your own food, what else have you been making with your sourdough though?
Pancakes, waffles. I'm looking how to make focaccia. And
your focaccia is so good.
Of other things.
So Julianne is talking about, being able to make and create your own homemade healthy breads. But if you don't have organic whole wheat flour or organic all-purpose flour, sourdough starter, ready and healthy to go, then you can't make any of these things. So we highly recommend stocking up on your good, healthy flours. And like salts. We like Redmond's real salt to stock up on, because a lot of our bread recipes call for salt, honey, raw honey. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That stands in its own category. But salt, if you need other baking necessities to be able to make your own food at home from scratch, like baking powder, baking soda. So these are important things to have stocked up in your pantry, because you just need to be able to bake the things that you need to make. So when we're making, a meal out of homemade sourdough pancakes, think about all of the things that you need to make that meal work. And then build your stockpile, your pantry, off of those meal ideas that you have. If you know that your family's going to eat a loaf of bread every day, which we are a family of 8, so we absolutely have no issue going through a whole loaf of homemade sourdough in a day. And if I want that to be a part of a meal that we're making, I have to consider those things and make sure that I stock up on those things and have them down in the dry storage area and ready to go for whenever we want to make that meal.
All right, we're going to talk about some all-natural sweeteners that we use here at the farm as well. And some of those are honey, maple syrup, and the pure cane sugar that we get from Azure Standard. We really like to try to stick to some of the better sweeteners here. I have switched up in the last year or two to where I use all-natural pure maple syrup in my coffee for a sweetener instead of going to the sugar. And I don't like the way that honey tastes in my coffee especially. And then in our teas, we like to use our honey at the farm here, as well as some of the pure cane sugar. Julianne and the girls also utilize honey a lot for substitution in our baking supplies. So when it comes to baking our breads and other items that we need to have sweeteners in, we substitute maple syrup and honey in those a lot as well. So don't forget about the things that will make your meals taste better and everyone have a little bit more of a smile on their face when you're stocking up on your items to keep around the house.
So stocking up does not have to be super stressful and hard and confusing. Just break it down into these simple categories that we talked about today. Proteins, baking necessities, natural sweeteners, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats. Start there. Find out what your family likes to eat in these categories. Begin to build some meal ideas and then build your stockpile. And it's not about being a prepper and being a crazy stockpile lady. It's just about preparedness and resiliency and making sure that you have what your family needs whenever those needs do come up. If you want to check out where we like to get our bulk healthy organic items, check out this video from Azure Standard. And also we love going to Country Life Natural, so you can check that video out too. All right, we'll talk to y'all soon.